The Nintendo DS without a doubt has become the most successful handheld to date, with its innovative screen technology and design as well as its huge list of games. But what ended the DS's legacy, but paved the path forward for the 3DS? Well, today let's find out. Development on the DS can be dated all the way back to 2002, a year after the Game Boy Advance's release. At first, the DS was actually supposed to be the next generation of the Game Boy, but a man in charge of the next Game Boy named Satoru Okada was on the phone talking about their next handheld with the former president of Nintendo, Hiroshi Yamauchi, who suggested that this device should have two screens, just like the Game & Watch handhelds. This idea was actually an unpopular opinion within Nintendo, and this even included the current president at the time, Satoru Iwata. In the end though, Okada would convince the president to give him the go-ahead with the project, and in November of 2003, Nintendo announced that a new project would be coming in 2004. And on January 20th of 2004, the Nintendo DS was unveiled to the public. Satoru Iwata called the DS a completely different concept from existing game devices, in order to provide players with a unique entertainment experience for the 21st century. He also said he had hopes that the device would bring back the more innovative side of Nintendo, because similar to how Nintendo was viewed during the Wii U times, Nintendo was also viewed as being a lot more conservative in terms of innovation and taking risks before the DS's launch. At E3 2004, more information was provided, including a prototype being shown off. Only 2 months later, a better, fully developed version was shown off. And once again, the former president of Nintendo, Hiroshi Yamauchi, exclaimed that the DS's importance to succeed was vital to the future of Nintendo. Before the handheld was even released, it seemed to already be paying off, as there were over 3 million pre-orders made for North America and Japan. Then, on November 21st of 2004, the DS was released in North America, then followed by December 2nd for Japan, and then February and March for Europe and Australia. And by the end of 2004, over 1 million units and a total of 2.8 million worldwide were sold. By June of 2005, there were over 6.65 million units sold. To keep up the momentum of this success, a slimmer DS was launched in 2006 called the DS Lite. That would also be the year that Nintendo would start development on a more improved DS called the DSi. It was made even slimmer and added a camera. Its OS also was improved a ton, more than likely to keep up with the rise of smartphones and the iPod Touch and various products like that. Unfortunately though, with all this new tech, they had to remove the Game Boy Advance cartridge, but they also added the ability to download games and apps, which meant that this connected to the internet. The DSi would launch in 2008, and then a year later in 2009, Nintendo would release the DSi XL. I remember in 3rd grade when owning a DSi or DSi XL was like owning the newest and greatest iPhone or Android, while everyone else was stuck with a DS or DS Lite. But yeah, both systems sold extremely well and continued Nintendo's momentum moving forward, which leads us to the next generation of DS. But that's for another video. The story for that is still unfolding till this day. But why did Nintendo kill the DS? And yes, it's obviously because of the 3DS, but why even go with the 3DS in the first place? Well, it's really because Nintendo can't just keep on selling the DSi and DSi XL forever. They're eventually going to become out of date. Just to keep up with the next generation of DS, Nintendo needed to make a product that was even better than the DSi and DSi XL, and there isn't really a way to top it without adding a even more unique feature. And at this time, like I've said many times in the past probably, 3D was a really big part of the late 2000s and super early 2010s. This really does seem like the most Nintendo thing to do. Nintendo has always nailed the message that their products are supposed to give a unique entertainment experience, and the 3DS definitely does that, being in 3D. Some DS models were around for a few years during the 3DS's existence, but eventually Nintendo stopped producing them, and also stores eventually ran out of inventory for them because of that. And Nintendo realized that there were some people that weren't fans of the 3DS's 3D, so they brought back a DS that didn't have 3D, but they called it the 2DS, which came out in 2013. It's the only DS model to not not be a clamshell. But yeah, to conclude, the DS was a big part of the 2000s culture. It is definitely something that put Nintendo back on the dot, and really was refreshing after having so many Game Boy models. Just like the Switch, it was popular with all sorts of ages. And in a world where PlayStation was just a huge brand, and it seemed to overtake Nintendo, it still showed that Nintendo had some dominance in the market when comparing it to Sony's PSP. In total, Nintendo would sell over 150 million Nintendo DS's, making it the best-selling handheld console of all time. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.